Our scripture reading this morning comes from 1 Kings chapter 19, verses 9 through 18. At that place, Elijah came to a cave and spent the night there. Then the word of the Lord came to him, saying, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" He answered, "I have been very zealous for the Lord, the God of hosts. For the Israelites have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword. I alone am left, and they are seeking my life to take it away." He said, "Go out and stand on the mountain before the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by." Now there was a great wind, so strong that it was splitting mountains and breaking rocks in pieces before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake. But the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire. But the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, a sound of sheer silence. When Elijah heard it, he wrapped his face in his mantle and went out and stood at the entrance of the cave. Then there came a voice to him that said, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" He answered, "I have been very zealous for the Lord, the God of hosts. For the Israelites have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword. I alone am left, and they are seeking my life to take it away." Then the Lord said to him, "Go, return on your way to the wilderness of Damascus. When you arrive, you shall anoint Hazael as king over Aram. Also you shall anoint Jehu, son of Nimshi, as king over Israel. And you shall anoint Elisha, son of Shaphat of Abel-Meholah, as prophet in your place. Whoever escapes from the sword of Hazael, Jehu shall kill. And whoever escapes from the sword of Jehu, Elisha shall kill. Yet I will leave 7,000 in Israel, all the knees that have not bowed to Baal, and every mouth that has not kissed him." The word of God for the people of God.
Praise be to God.
May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O God, my rock and my redeemer. Looking for a job? How about this one? As a crew member at the Concordia station in Antarctica. It's located in one of the most isolated and inhospitable places on our planet. In fact, it's so remote that the European Space Agency uses it as a model for what living on a different planet might be like. And at 10,000 feet altitude, the crew gets about, a third less oxygen than they'd experience at sea level. And during the winter, which can get as cold as minus 120 degrees Fahrenheit, the crew spends 4 months living in complete darkness. Concordia is 400 miles away from the nearest human beings, which makes it more remote than the International Space Station. Not for you? Well, what about being a winter caretaker at Yellowstone National Park? You'd arrive in November, and you'd spend your days cleaning the snow off the roofs of about 100 buildings so they don't collapse. And the only time that you'd have a chance to leave the park is if and when a snowplow could get to your cabin. And your closest neighbor, about a 2-hour snowmobile ride away. Don't like the cold? Well, what about becoming a lookout at the Gila National Forest in New Mexico? You'd be there from April through August, which is the wildfire season, and you'd watch over about 100,000 acres of land through binoculars perched on a really high, rickety tower. And you'd radio in any sign of smoke so that action could be taken if necessary. Well, this job isn't only isolated, it's also dangerous. But some of the benefits? Well, You can bathe or not bathe as you see fit. You can even wander around in your birthday suit if you'd like. I mean, there's nobody out there that's going to see you, right? Well, this is just a small sampling of some of the lonely jobs out there. I mean, there's the all-night disc jockey, a night clerk at a convenience store, an over-the-road trucker. There are a lot of folks who are stuck in lonely work, and that includes the prophet Elijah. I alone am left, he moans. Now, Elijah, he really shouldn't be all that surprised. Faithlessness in Israel had pretty much gone, faithfulness in Israel had pretty much gone into the toilet ever since King Ahab has taken over. Before Ahab's father surrendered the Oval Office to his son, he wanted to ensure that Ahab would have a smooth ride, so he arranged a wedding between Ahab and a princess named Jezebel, who was from the neighboring land of Phoenicia. He thought that maybe getting these two together might foster a stronger sense of peace. Well, kind of like a toddler who spends the summer with their grandma, Jezebel is used to getting her way. And marriage isn't going to change that. Well, Jezebel demands that the altars of the God of Israel be burned to ashes. She demands that anyone who preaches the law of Moses be arrested and executed. And she ties just enough puppet strings on this spineless Ahab that she pretty much makes him do whatever she wants him to do. And God is not at all pleased with this faithlessness. So God sends a drought upon the land. All the reservoirs dry up, the crops wither, Chicken Express has to stop selling sweet tea. I mean, it's awful. And the king doesn't get it. He doesn't understand the relationship between touching a hot griddle and having third-degree burns on his hand. He doesn't understand that when you make foolish decisions, that there are consequences. So Elijah enters the picture. You've abandoned the Lord's commands, he blames Ahab. You have followed the god Baal. You brought trouble upon yourself and upon your people. Well, Ahab's not real happy about shouldering all of this blame. So he decides that he wants to get rid of Elijah. And when Elijah hears about the threat, he decides that instead of being a fugitive on the run, that he should go straight to the king and propose a contest. King, he suggests, go out and find 450 of your most faithful prophets and let them call on Baal to see if they can muster up any rain. And I'll call upon the God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob to see if I can drum up any showers. And the first one to make it rain wins. Well, that sounds reasonable, right? Ahab thinks. So the prophets of Baal go to work. They shout at the top of their lungs. They make sacrificial cuts on their arms. They start shagging around in sort of a reggae music rain dance. But nothing works. So Elijah musters up his bootstraps and he steps up to the plate. Lord, he prays, let it be known that you are the God of Israel. Answer me, and these people will know you. And the sky grows black, and the winds kick up, and the rain comes pouring down. Well, Ahab is shocked. As his prophets scatter to get out of the rain, he just kind of stands there dumbfounded. And pretty soon, his wife Jezebel shows up. And she's ecstatic about this heavenly blessing of rain. That is until Ahab tells her what happened. And her ecstasy turns to fury. furious that the king has made such a mess of things. So she decides that she's just going to take care of it herself. May the gods deal with me severely, she screams, if by this time tomorrow I do not take the life of Elijah. Well, when Elijah hears this, he just kind of shakes his head. You know, dealing with Ahab was bad enough, but with all the pressure and stress and chaos that's been coming down on him, quite honestly, he just doesn't have the fortitude left to deal with this expletive deleted. He's just one man fighting against a world of evil, one citizen taking on a city hall full of corruption, one person confronting a busload of prejudice. And I don't care how thick your skin is, we all get to that point where it's just too much. And Elijah is at that point. So dejected and downhearted, he runs over to Mount Horeb, and he finds a cave, and he hunkers down in a dark corner, hoping that he can just escape from life. But Elijah should know better. Try as we might, we can't hide from God. Elijah, barks the Lord, what are you doing? Lord, I've been zealous for you. You know, Elijah's whining. I've spoken against false gods. I've done everything you asked me to do, but now they're trying to kill me. They're seeking to take my life. I alone am left. And we know what that's like, don't we? When we try to do the right thing, when we try to do the work of the Lord, and yet we feel like we're paddling through a hurricane with a teaspoon. At the office, when everyone is sitting around making disparaging sexual innuendos about the boss, you speak out about the inappropriateness of their comments, but they turn on you and make you the target of their painful jabs. I alone am left. On the playground, when all your classmates are picking on that new kid in the wheelchair, and you jump to his defense, but they turn on you and start pointing out your many deficiencies and handicaps. I alone am left. Your neighbor's children are hungry and being neglected, and for a while you just hope and you pray that the situation will take care of itself. Well, finally, you can't take it any longer, and so you take a bag of groceries to your neighbors out of compassion. But they slam the door in your face, telling you to keep your nose to yourself. I alone am left. It's hard, isn't it? Sometimes doing the work of the Lord feels like we're the lonely Cinderella, stuck at home sweeping the dirty floors while everyone else has gone to the ball, dancing and drinking and having a great time. Sometimes it's very lonely work. But then, look at our passage again. Elijah says, I alone am left. But he's not really alone. Go, orders the Lord, return on your way to the wilderness of Damascus, and I will leave with you 7,000 in Israel who have not bowed to their heads to Baal. 7,000 voices to offer him encouragement. 14,000 hands to pat him on the back. 14,000 feet to walk alongside him. Elijah is not alone. He's got 7,000 folks surrounding him, 7,000 people who will sit with him while his wife is having surgery, 7,000 people who will pray for him and with him, 7,000 people who will make sure that his needs are met. You see what's going on here, right? God has given Elijah a church. You see, with all of her faults and foibles, The church is the one place in our culture where we can come to find unconditional love and support, plus standing up against hatred and injustice and hunger and generational poverty isn't very easy, especially by yourself. Because you see, it sometimes requires, as Christians, that we go against the flow. If you don't believe me, just ask Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who stood alone against the Nazis. Ask Mother Teresa, who stood alone against poverty in Calcutta. Sometimes being a Christian is very lonely work. And that's why I think it's so important to be a part of the church. Because church is a place where we can come and find a sanctuary of rest and renewal. It's a place where we can come and be strengthened and uplifted by a whole congregation of saints. It's a place where we can shoulder our share of the burdens here in our community and be the hands and the feet and sometimes even the face of Jesus. It's a place where we can stand together in unity to fight the evils of our day. It's a place where we can come and hear again the promise of Jesus. I am with you always. And it's a place where we proclaim that promise to others, not only in word, but also in deeds. Will you pray with me? Holy God, we thank you for the gift of church, for the strength and community it provides for us as we seek to do the work of Jesus. Lord, as we confront the problems of our world today, allow us to hear again the promise of your living Spirit that dwells among us each and every day. Amen.